I never really bought into this whole Twitter beef between athletes stuff. I mean, honestly, as entertaining as it may be, I never really bought into it because it really doesn't benefit anything when you think about it. Yeah, it gives us water cooler talk and it gives us the opportunity to go back and forth as fans. If we are fans of one person who is going to Twitter war with another person, it gives us the opportunity to go back and forth. Yes. But at the end of the day, you still have to line up against that person, right? For example, if you're a wide receiver versus a cornerback, if you are going to war on Twitter, you still have to line up versus that person, right? So the world is going to find out who is the better man when you two line up. That's why I didn't really pay that much attention when it came to the Michael Thomas, Josh Norman Twitter beef. Now, on Monday Night Football, the New Orleans Saints took on the Washington Redskins, and the Saints completely destroyed the Washington Redskins. I mean, this game was an embarrassment. If I was a Washington Redskin fan, I think the game started 8:20 Eastern Standard Time in DC. About 9:20 Eastern Standard Time, I probably would have been asleep because this game was an embarrassment. If you're a Redskin fan, I feel for you all. But it wasn't the game itself what had everybody talking, besides the fact that Drew Brees broke the passing record. But there was some beef that went on social media. Michael Thomas, Saints wide receiver, versus Josh Norman, Redskin cornerback. And these two were going back and forth. And I wasn't going to talk about this until I found out that Michael Thomas was fined $10,069 by the National Football League. He was fined $10,000 for an unsportsmanlike conduct penalty that he got during this game on Monday Night Football. Now, I didn't know all this was going on. I didn't know that Michael Thomas was out here, getting people in their feelings like this. I didn't think about it. So, to keep it in football context, I had to go do a little research. I had to do a little research on Michael Thomas, man. And I went back to the divisional playoff game versus the Minnesota Vikings. And there was one play where Michael Thomas threw a block on Sadejo and knocked this dude out cold. I'm talking about knock this dude clean out. I don't know if you remember that. I know everybody gets lost in the whole Minnesota Miracle thing, especially us as a Saints fan. I have bad dreams just thinking about it. Ugh. But anyway, he threw a block on Sadejo. I'm talking about Michael Thomas, and knocked him out cold. And Xavier Rhodes was not the same after that play. I mean, I think Michael Thomas may have scored 2 touchdowns after that play. But I'm saying that to say this. I think that Michael Thomas quietly is one of the most intimidating wide receivers in the National Football League. If you look at the way that he plays and the way that he gets responses out of these secondary players, you have to think to yourself, man, Michael Thomas is really making these dudes get into their feelings. Now, we can talk about Josh Norman. Josh Norman is known for his trash talk. We know that Josh Norman is known for his whole beef with Odell Beckham Jr. when him and Odell were going at it in a game, and he completely talked Odell Beckham out of his game. We understand all of that. But Josh Norman hasn't been playing up to Josh Norman's so-called standards in a very, very long time. Josh Norman had his first interception versus the Carolina Panthers this past Sunday, and that was his first interception he had in almost 2 years. He hasn't been playing well. He got benched during the game versus the Saints, and a lot of people in Washington, if you ask them, they feel like the man is stealing money. And honestly, if you think about it, Josh Norman only had one good season, and that was the season where he was doing all that talking, and the Carolina Panthers end up going to the Super Bowl. After that, he hasn't done anything. You can really truly say that maybe he's one of those players that only focus on getting the money, and winning is not the most important thing to him. And that's the only thing that's important to him is him getting some money, which ain't nothing wrong with that. I mean, you go out there and put your life on the line, you want to get paid, but at the end of the day, you still want to be a champion, and those are the guys that I respect. But back to Michael Thomas. I think that Michael Thomas is one of the most feared wide receivers in all of the National Football League, and he is one of those people that are not a pushover. I was watching the Rich Eisen show, and shouts out to Rich Eisen, but he had Sean Payton on his show, and of course he was talking to Sean Payton about Drew Brees and the record, but the conversation of Michael Thomas came up, and Sean Payton talked a little bit about Michael Thomas and the type of football player that he is.
Mike is someone that stays after, is there early. There's no walkthrough snaps, even though it's a walkthrough. For him, it's full speed. There's a physicality and a presence with him, his size, his strength. He's very difficult at the line of scrimmage if you're trying to press him. And I think that's one of the things that stands out most. You know, on Thursdays, I'll go out there and kind of, you get a lot of bump and run man. Thursdays are third downs. We're simulating that as a coach and go out and kind of press these guys and have some fun with them. And I did this a year ago with Mike, and he released off the ball with his hands, like whack, whack. And right away, I remember just being stunned. And for the next couple of days, I felt like I was in a car accident. And I've done this for years with Colston and you name it, Devery Henderson, Lance Moore, Robert Meacham. This was the first time that I had a finger pointing sideways. I had a bruise on my chest, and it just felt like I don't want to ever do that to him again.
In other words, Michael Thomas is somebody that you don't want to mess with. And I have to say about Michael Thomas, you can tell he is a passionate football player. He has a passion for the game, and he's not going to be intimidated. Not only does he have great hands, I mean, this guy is a true football player. I mean, you have to think back to possibly Hines Ward, the way that this guy plays the game of football, and you have to respect it. And not only can he play, but he can back it up. And not only can he back it up, he has some talk for you in the process. I mean, Josh Norman, it was clear that he didn't want any of Michael Thomas, and Michael Thomas did respond to the fact that he was getting fined $10,000 on Twitter. He basically said that it was child support. That's the only thing he put on Twitter. He said child support. And for those that probably are not hip to some of the slang that they have going on, if you're playing a sport and you're going up against a person and you are really truly getting the best of this person, you might hear somebody say, "Oh man, you making this dude your son." That means that you are basically dominating this person. Okay, so when he said the term child support, he's basically saying that he made those guys his son. And since he is his son, he got to pay child support. Oh man, that is very, very entertaining stuff from Michael Thomas. But as entertaining as it is, he entertains me more by his play on the field. Him leading wide receivers after 3 games in the regular season in receptions, him completely being a reliable piece of the offensive puzzle for Drew Brees, a person that Drew Brees can throw the ball to on third down, a person in crucial situations Drew Brees know if he throws the ball to him, he's going to make a play. I am more impressed with Michael Thomas' play on the field than his play with words. This has been the State of the Saints podcast. Let me know what you all think about Michael Thomas. Till next time, who dat?